What's up, guys? Jason here from the Table Monkeys, and this is going to be a quick video going over what I'm doing during my peak week to get ready for the big tournament out in Pembroke, run by the Valley Boys. You've probably seen some stuff about it, probably hear them talking about it on actually, they're going to be talking about it on Uncle John's podcast tonight, so go check out Uncle John's show. Evan and Alan are going to be on there talking about this tournament, which is going to be a lot of fun. Okay, so for peak week, if you've seen our videos on our strength training program, throw a card up in the window for the playlist. At the end, we go over peaking and deloading, and in there you'll see that the way that we structure the peak week is basically it works out to be from 9 days out. I start basically alternating between recovery days and rest days. So this is my last recovery day before I take 3 rest days in a row. And I always start my recovery days. I basically start every workout with this shoulder workout that I'm doing here, which is just a shoulder warm-up. So the first one, I put the band in my shoulder joint and lean into it. It's called the distraction method, and I learned this from Donnie Thompson, who, if you don't know who he is, you should. He's the first person to ever total 3,000 pounds in a powerlifting meet, which is ridiculous. Anyway, he's a monster, he's a beast, and he's really good with all this sports medicine and stuff. So this distraction method is something I learned from him. And then once I'm done with the distraction, I start stretching out the shoulder joint and the scapula joint. And the way that these stretches work is basically I'm using the band to stretch out. So in this one, I'm using the band to stretch my lat, and then I contract my lat. And as I relax it, because of the band, it should stretch further. So it's a great way to wake up and open up muscle groups. And it's really important that you use a band, because the band is going to sort of pull as your muscles loosen, right? Okay, so once the shoulders are warmed up, then we work this recovery circuit. So the first thing I start with are reverse rolls for the forearm extensors. A lot of the recovery work I like to do is basically antagonist muscle groups. So we're using a lot of wrist flexion and a lot of internal rotation when we're arm wrestling. So I like to work the counter muscles to that, which really helps balance everything out and keep everything feeling fresh. So I start the circuit with these wrist rolls, doing 28 kilos here, I think. So decent amount of weight, and three rolls up, and then on to the next exercise. And I do this all as one big circuit, and then I repeat it 4 times. So this is the JMM presses, and I don't know if anybody out there is familiar with this guy, Ben Patrick, who's the knees over toes guy. If you YouTube him, knees over toes, you'll find a bunch of videos on him. And basically he talks about bulletproofing your joints. So I've been trying to implement some of his methods into my recovery work, especially for my elbows and my wrists. So with the JMM presses here, basically I am in the fully contracted position at the very bottom, and I'm going to hold that for about 10 seconds. Then I do about 20 pumps, and then I do the full range reps. And the concept behind this is Ben Patrick makes the point that your joints, when they're fully like either fully bent or fully extended, that's when they're going to get the most amount of blood flow. So that's part of the reason why I'm liking holding these JMM presses down at the bottom like that, and they feel amazing. So try that out with your JMM presses if you do them. And after that, we do some plate curls here just to work the wrist flexion a little bit. And I'm not trying to do like a ton of cupping. I just want to keep the hand engaged, and I want to keep the wrist bending. And I'm only doing a 15-pound plate, so it's really not very heavy. This isn't really straining me much. It's just about getting blood flow and activating those muscle groups, and just keeping everything familiar with the fact that it's going to have to do work in a few days. Now we're on to hammer work. And this is what I'm considering my wrist conditioning now. It's similar to the JMM presses. So I'm going where I'm fully extended with my riser, and then where I'm fully contracted with my riser, or extended with my ulnar muscles. And I'm just kind of holding the hammer in those positions for, about a 3 count, and trying to get as much movement and range out of my wrist, and then hold the end of those ranges with the weight. And eventually I do a few reps like with a little bit more speed and less rest in between, but for the most part I've been doing my wrists where I'm just trying to let those spots stay fully extended to get a bunch of blood flow. Okay, then we're on to external rotation. I do it from 2 different angles, to the side and then overhead. The main thing, other than to, just doing the actual external rotation, is that with both movements, I'm trying to use a handle in which I can also extend my wrist. So I'm doing a bit of a wrist extension at the end of the movement, whether I'm rotating out or rotating up like I'm doing here. You can kind of see my wrist is bent back, like kicked back, as I do that full external rotation. And then the final movement is going to be some reverse extensions, again for elbow health. I usually do these with a rope and do like a bit of a chop at the end, but Alex has introduced me to these reverse ones and just mentioned how good they feel on the elbow. And again, because basically my hand, everything in my hand position and arm position is the way it would be if I was doing curls or arm wrestling, but I'm going the opposite way, it's really working all the antagonist muscles really well. And then the final thing, get in some cardio, because that is going to help move lactic acid around, which is going to help with recovery and make sure that you are at your best and ready for competition.